Was it you that turned the television on?
Oh, no! Wow.
Movie stars, military servicemen and mystery await the most haunted team in Hollywood.
Hello and welcome to Most Haunted USA.
Name a movie star from yesteryear and chances are that they will have walked these floors or drank at this bar. But is celluloid our only means to see such heroes walk and talk, or do they haunt a very special part of Tinseltown?
And that is why I brought you to the Hollywood American Legion.
Set right amongst Hollywood's film sets and studios is a place that the stars of stage and screen often called a second home. The American Legion was completed in 1929 and attracted military servicemen as well as politicians and film stars who were eager to relax away from the public domain. Monroe, Bogart and Gable are just a few of the many icons who came here, and the regular apparitions that greet people today seem to suggest that some have chosen to stay. One particular Legionnaire is thought to still roam the home that he had for 30 years. But following Marshall Wyatt's tragic fall and death on these stairs in 2000, that is far from the end of his story.
For scores of years, this place has also been home to some of Hollywood's superstars, and there seems to have been an affiliation between military and film stars, superstars, ever since.
Once filled with Hollywood's silver screen elite, from Humphrey Bogart and Clark Gable to Marilyn Monroe and Ginger Rogers, this theatre is now host to a lonely phantom that sits at the back of the auditorium and applauds actors while they're rehearsing in this overwhelming place. There are many strange occurrences here in the library. Loud bangs and shuffling of feet are often heard, along with dark shadows. It's thought that the ghost of Marshall makes his presence known here and refuses to leave.
The amount of ghosts that I'm told are here, probably about 4. But nobody really seems to know who they are. Strange, because when Terry first came to this building many years ago, he's the custodian, he and his wife-to-be were staying downstairs.
And it was very late at night, and of course we'd stayed up late and had quite a bit to drink. We went out to dinner earlier, then came back, and we were still awake in the room, and all of a sudden she heard some kind of noise, and she said, "Terry," she said, "what's that?" And I said, "What's what?" She said, "I hear something." And of course, as soon as I burst out, the laughter stopped, just like that. And so it, was one of those things where the hair goes up on the back of your neck. And, Jane, she was totally freaked out. I went back to Marshall again, and I said, "Marshall, were you up last night?" And he said, "No." I said, "Do you have, do you have a girl in the building?" He said, "Terry," he said, "I'm 83 years old." He said, "I wish I had a girlfriend in the building." And I said, "Well, Jane and I heard somebody running around in the atrium and heard laughter and somebody was chasing her." And he said, "No," he said, "don't worry about it." He said, "It's just, the people." He said, "They're hanging out." He said, "I hear doors and laughter and conversation." He said, half a dozen times. He said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "They're all Caspers." He said, "They're all friendly ghosts." Marshall, who unfortunately has passed away, was the person who had told me about all of the stuff that he had experienced, and he was here 33 years. And but I often feel, and have also always felt, that Marshall is still here. He died right here in the building, on the stairs. In the back, he fell and hit his head. And I was the person who found him, and I talked to him for about 20 minutes. So anyway, I think Marshall is here, and I've, almost every night when I leave, I say goodnight to Marshall. And I'm not the only one who feels like he's still here too. Other people have told me the same thing. And so anyway, Marshall's hanging around where he used to live.
Some of the great movie stars of yesteryear would come here and drink. Some of them would even reserve seats at the bar. So could they have returned and be causing many of the apparitions that are seen throughout all of this area? And what's causing the tables and chairs to move all on their own? We have 24 hours to find out.
Nowadays, the Legion is still a social base, although visitors are also drawn by occasional concerts, as well as the building's museum. But despite the temptation to become starstruck, Kieran O'Keefe is one man intent on remaining level-headed. And the parapsychologist does feel that Hollywood's American Legion holds more than meets the eye.
Here we are, Kieran. To me, this is absolutely fantastic. It's the pinnacle of us being here because all the Hollywood legends have actually sat at this bar. Marilyn Monroe,
Clark Gable, for instance.
Yeah.
You could be sitting in Marilyn Monroe's seat and I could be sitting in Clark Gable's seat.
I know.
Fantastic.
Isn't it great?
Absolutely fantastic.
So what are we going to do here tonight to try, hopefully, and capture some ghosts, some apparitions, hopefully, some paranormal activity?
Well, the fascinating thing about this place is a lot of the testimonies are actually associated with people that work here. So it would have been the janitor, the cleaner, those sort of people. But in addition, because we know about the history of the place, because of the Hollywood legends, because of the association with the Legion, there are a lot of other spirits around. So hopefully the mediums will pick up on people like Clark Gable and others that would have drank here and actually had fun here.
For me, I would feel a little bit silly. I think I would probably laugh, you know, if we started communicating with Marilyn Monroe, Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah, it would seem quite fantastical. However, you've got to remember, there is a lot of emotion associated with this place. These Hollywood legends would have come here, they would have had reserved places, they would have drank here, had a lot of fun, and there would be a lot of positive emotion. By the same token, there also might be quite negative emotion, especially if they would have drank here during the war years, for example. And remember, we're in Hollywood. These are the big characters, the well-known people of the area. It is no different from communicating with kings and queens, for example, or well-known generals back in England. We're dealing with the same sort of people.
So are we dealing with more than just masters of disguise? Will some stars' off-screen personas be those that we encounter tonight? With mediums Derek Okora and David Wells also joining us on this intriguing investigation, we immediately head into the building's theatre and begin our discovery of who may haunt Hollywood's American Legion.